Hi, I'm Mike Lennon from Lennon Sails, and I'm going to talk about how to get started in moth sailing. Number one is obviously to find yourself a boat, and I would strongly recommend spending as much as you can. If you buy a boat which is at the very bottom end of the price range, let's say anything sort of in the mid 5, 6, 7,000 range, or less than that, let's say, you're potentially going to buy some trouble. The boats of that age aren't as well sorted. They're harder to sail. The most recent boats, the modern boats, are substantially more expensive than that, but they're substantially easier to sail. An older Mach II, for instance, or an older Blade Rider, which were the boats before the Mach IIs, are good boats to get second hand, and they're perfectly good boats, and they'll give you a very good sensation. They'll get you up on the foils very easily, as long as the boats are well maintained and so on. So I would say a Blade Rider or Mach II, early Mach II, you'll get on the water for between 8 and 10,000, and that'll give you a very, very good introduction to moth sailing. The next tip is going to be when you've actually finally got your boat and got on the water, you want to get on the foils for the first time. If you haven't been moth sailing before, you won't be used to the sensation of tipping the boat up to windward and rotating the boat up onto the foils. This is something that has to be learnt and practiced, and it's quite alien to non-moth sailors. If you can sail a boat, any sailing boat competently, you can probably sail a moth. Don't let the speed and sort of exciting element of it put you off. But there is some elements to be learnt which are counterintuitive to normal dinghy sailing, and that's the takeoff. So it's the roll to windward and the getting the boat to initially lift off. I'm assuming you've got the foils already set up in the right place, and you can talk to people at your local club or other moth sailors about how to make sure your foils are properly set up. But once you're on the water, the technique involved is you'll roll the boat to windward on top of yourself. You actually let some main sheet out, and as you lift up, you pull it in again, and the boat will just launch up onto the foils. But the key is the windward heel and keeping it heel to windward as you go up. You see time and time again with newcomers to the boat, they want to let it roll back level again and the boat falls off the foils or blows to leeward. Keep it on top of you and it'll just beautifully come up out of the water and level itself off. Once you've got up on the foils is your ride height. Now you see a lot of people who are new to the class who aren't used to controlling the ride height. That's the distance of the boat from the water, how high it's flying. And if it flies too high, the foils get too close to the surface and they can draw air down onto themselves, or they can actually completely break free. If the tips come out, they'll draw air down and you'll lose steerage and you'll be out of control, literally. And if the same thing happens on the front foil, the boat becomes unpredictable in its pitch and starts to do odd things. So if you're too high, the boat will be very hard to sail. It'll be very skittish, very difficult, almost out of control. If you're too low, the boat won't go very fast. You'll be hitting the water all the time, which is also knock you off balance and so on. So you want to get it to a good average height to begin with. Again, talk to moth sailors who are around at the time if you're that lucky to have people around you. If not, you can just talk to people generally. People will answer your questions on the forums and so on the International Moth Forum and on the UK sites as well, on Facebook and so on. You can get a lot of advice there. But ride height is key, and you can control the ride height in the boat. Most boats now have a linkage in the middle of the boat. The length of this push rod controls your ride height. If you shorten it, you go down. If you lengthen it, you go up. And it's getting that right. So if you launch the boat, you're too high, you lose steerage and you pitch pull, that's because you're too high and you want to shorten this push rod length down. And if you're too low and banging on the water, you increase the length of this push rod and you go up. And you can just fiddle with it until you get to a comfortable height where you can steer. You want about this much foil in the water, rudder and centreboard foil at least when you're beginning, and that'll give you a nice all-round, relatively easy to sail feeling about things.